Hello and welcome to the Art of Costume Podcast. I'm Elizabeth Joy Glass.
And I am Professor Spencer Williams.
Oh, hello, Professor.
I have my associate's degree in archaeology, so very excited to be here.
That's absolutely what we went to college for. 100%.
Hello, Elizabeth. It's so good to see you. I haven't seen you since we went to a Stardew Valley concert the other day.
I know. Highlight of the week, honestly.
Honestly, it was so much fun. We were living our best nerdy lives, I shall say.
I've never zenned out so hard during a concert.
Actually, during the second half, we were kind of checking in on each other, make sure we weren't getting a little nap in.
Yeah. But it was so fun. It was fun to see all the other nerds.
It was a good time. And I've also been very excited to continue our 80s adventure month.
Yes.
It's been so much of an adventure. We have returned to our old format of the virtual Zoom setting just for this very episode.
Yes.
Which has been a lot of fun staying up in the background.
Oh, yes, it has. So much fun. But not as much fun as, dare I call it, the 180s action movie to rule them all? Not action, adventure movie.
This is, to me, like the ultimate adventure film. We are talking about Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark, or to some, it was originally called Raiders of the Lost Ark. I've already seen your comments. There's a lot of terrible things happening in this world, so please do not send me hate mail for calling it Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark. I don't care.
Yeah, it's how most people know it.
Mm-hmm. It's fine. We'll be all right.
We'll be all right. Also, you nerds, they weren't called episodes 4, 5, and 6 originally, so calm down.
But I was so excited to rewatch this film. Actually, I'm not even sure. I know. Okay, I think I've seen it before, but it's been a very, very long time. I've seen Temple of Doom like a million times, so it's so excited to go back rewatch this film, and I loved it. It is to me like a near perfect film, so I'm very excited to talk about it.
It is definitely one of those films where you're like, oh, there's not much that can be improved here.
Yeah.
It's fun. The acting's great. Everything looks incredible. And the costumes are top notch by one of the best.
Really. I mean, it doesn't get more iconic than this film. But before we get into all the costumes, I'll start us off with a summary in case anyone forgot what Raiders of the Lost Ark is all about. Raiders of the Lost Ark is an epic tale directed by Steven Spielberg in which an intrepid archaeologist tries to beat a band of Nazis to a unique religious relic which is central to their plans for world domination. Those pesky Nazis. Battling against a snake phobia and a vengeful ex-girlfriend, Indiana Jones is in constant peril, making hair's breadth escapes at every turn in this celebration of the innocent adventure movies of an earlier era. And that is Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark.
If you have not seen it, get yourself to Disney Plus.
Mm-hmm.
This is a popcorn movie. Make yourself some popcorn, maybe a little bit of hot chocolate, a little drinky drink. Sit back and relax.
There's a lot of drinky drinks in this movie, dare I say.
That's true. That's true.
Well, let's meet our costume designer.
Today, we have legendary costume designer Deborah Nadoolman Landis. You will know her work from Animal House, 1941, The Blues Brothers,
mm-hmm.
An American Werewolf in London, Trading Places, Michael Jackson's Thriller, Three Amigos, and Coming to America, for which she received her Oscar nomination. And as you and I both know, Deborah is a legend in the costume community. She is a 2-term Costume Designer Guild president, a Costume Designer Guild Award winner, and the founding director of the David C. Copley Center for the Study of Costume Design.
She is the real deal. I mean, she's
She
the
is.
source. I feel like every episode we've ever done, there's always some sort of Deborah Landis
Yeah.
research out there to help us through it.
We have her books.
We have her books. We've been to her events. I love her UCLA Sketch the Screen events that we get to go to every year. I mean, I look up to Professor Landis, dare I say.
Absolutely.
Because she is the costume historian. So she's paved a way for you and I in ways with our little podcast.
Absolutely. Getting her books have been some of like the highlights of my Christmas over the years. Because she loves costume design and costume designers and preserving that history. And there's not a lot of people out there who care as much as she does to do that work and have it recorded for the rest of time.
Yeah. And, and she's lived it and she knows these experiences and she knows what her colleagues, are going through and what they need and what they deserve. So a true champion, Deborah Landis is. And I am so happy to say that in preparation for our Raiders of the Lost Ark episode, I actually got to meet with Professor Landis. And
Yes.
I have to admit, I was a little nervous because, I mean, as someone who I've called myself like an amateur historian, I've had to really prepare for this interview to make sure I had my facts straight. And yeah, so we had a little chat about Raiders of the Lost Ark, and it was so much fun. I got so much good information out of her about Raiders of the Lost Ark. We talked all about, of course, the iconic Indiana Jones silhouette.
Yes.
The hat, which to me, I think is the most famous hat in film history.
Absolutely.
I mean, I can't think of a more iconic hat. And it's just fun to really get to spend like that one-on-one time with Professor Landis because, obviously we've seen her at events and whatnot, but I've never really gotten to talk with her. And I've only ever seen her interview other people. So it was fun for me to kind of interview her for once. So we're going to take a little break and play that interview. And when we come back, Elizabeth and I will get to chat about a few costumes, our one costume rule them all. And I'm very happy to say that at the end of this episode, we'll be revealing our spooky season.
Yes.
So very excited for that. So let's take a little break, shall we?
Hi, I'm Dan, who does all the magic behind the scenes. I wanted to say thank you, and if you want to support the show even farther, go to tpublic.com/user/theartofcostume, where you can buy a couple variations of our logo on t-shirts, mugs, and stickers. Also, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and if you're an audio listener, leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcast. Now, back to the show.
I am so beyond honored and excited to welcome today's guest. She is a costume designer, Academy Award nominee, historian, 2-term president of the Costume Designers Guild Local 892, professor, and founding director and chair of the David C. Copley Center for Costume Design. Please welcome Professor Deborah Nadoolman Landis. Hello.
Hi, Spencer. Thanks for having me on your podcast.
Why, of course. We've been so excited to talk to you. We're all such big fans over here. I mean, we have like all of your books. I feel like for every single podcast, we somehow end up reading something that you've researched. So, I mean, you're the source. We're excited to talk to you.
I just want to say something is that how delighted I am that there is the Art of Costume podcast, and that you do focus on the contribution of costume designers. Spencer, and I've started to get serious about this, but it's my big passion. So it's not just costume designers, but it's really the contribution of the individuals who make it happen, and that the general public is sort of getting an idea now, especially within the last 10 years, because of podcasts like these, that costume designers can address the adoring public to let them know who is really responsible for what they see on screen. So I wanted to thank you too.
Well, I really appreciate that. And actually, this was gonna be my last question, but maybe we should just get into it now. Like you said, we love costume design, we love costume designers, illustrators, assistant costumers, the whole 9 yards. And I just love supporting, these people, these artisans and their work. So I was going to ask you, as someone who's a historian, why costume design, and why do you believe costume design is so integral to the filmmaking television process?
I think I think other than actually, don't repeat this, but I think that my belief is that costume design is about the human condition.
Mm,
And when I teach costume design, I don't teach about clothes because clothes are really secondary to what our role is.
hmm
And if stories and if engaging stories are about people, they're not about the landscape. They're not about the locations. They're not about the sets, I'm sorry to say. They're not about the visual effects. What makes a story great is if the audience, us, engages with the people. And so our role is just sincerely to help bring those people to life and to help the actors, the performers transform into the people in the story. And that's really period the end. And nothing makes me crazier. There's an expression, your bête noire. So my bête noire is fashion and film. That's where I draw the line. And so I really care about my colleagues and want that recognition and want that value and want that paycheck that really recompenses our colleagues, my friends, for the contribution that they make to movies in the past, present, and future. So I know that's a lot, but that's how I really feel.
Yeah. Well, speaking of colleagues, today is about Raiders of the Lost Ark, and you have a certain famous colleague that you worked with on a few films. We're talking about Steven Spielberg. When it came to Raiders, Spielberg apparently described a script as a big B movie and pointed to the
That's
Secret of
right.
the Incas, which was from 1954, as a big key inspiration. You also previously worked with Spielberg before on 1941. So tell me about that collaboration and how that relationship kind of carried forward from 1941 into Raiders of the Lost Ark.
So 1941 was a wonderful experience. And I have to say, I was 26. I was 26, and Steve was maybe 33, right?
Okay.
So we were the young people, and we were very close friends at that time. We became close friends during the making of 1941. And even then, he understood that once he decided he trusted me, and I guess he had decided he trusted me when he saw Animal House, because he really
Mm-hmm.
fell in love with Animal House and had never had a costume designer before. So,
Right.
Vicky Sanchez, bless her heart, who's still around, is a costume designer, but she really worked as a costumer or the key supervisor, which pretty much she did the same thing without the title on Close Encounters, but he had never had a costume designer before. But I think going into 1941 and having seen Animal House, he understood, "Oh, I'm going to get this person." And he cold called me. He didn't know John. He called me to come in, and we immediately clicked. And I think we were very, very close. We became very close. And I don't think that's an exaggeration, because I think when you're close, you sort of can help yourself to people's fridge.
Mm-hmm.
When you feel like you can come to their house and go to their fridge, that's close, right?
Yeah.
So going into Raiders, unbeknownst to me, he had I didn't know George Lucas, and Steve had this other relationship with George Lucas, and they developed this idea of Raiders of the Lost Ark. And that's really when I was off in Chicago making the Blues Brothers with my
Mm-hmm.
husband, John Landis, became my husband, John Landis,
Right.
who that's something else. I met him through friends in high school.
We'll do another
That's
podcast.
another story. I'm just trying to get through this quickly. So, so when we were making the Blues Brothers, I got this call from Steve saying, "Okay, well, we're going to make Raiders of the Lost," and I didn't even understand what the plot was. There was the Ark of the Covenant. It's so weird. Imagine getting that call, Deborah. It's about the Ark of the Covenant, and you know.
There's some Nazis, and you're like, okay.
At that point, I hadn't been bat mitzvahed, so I really didn't know about that Ark of the Covenant, and I didn't. Anyway, so when I came to work for the first time, it was at the Egg Company, which was a building that George had bought and remodeled on Lancashire across from Universal, very, very, very luxuriously. And back in the day, and it was so different at that time, you walked into the building and you smelled chocolate chip cookies because, of course, he had a big community kitchen with a cook making chocolate chip cookies for everyone. And I walked into the bathroom, and I know this is paraphrasing Axel Foley, but this bathroom was nicer than my apartment. Right? So I walked into the bathroom and had these gorgeous rugs. I couldn't believe the money that was spent. So we started, and I had a very clear brief. Now, what's interesting about it is that in my memory, I did not see any of those very famous storyboards. So I was not shown any storyboards. So my response to the script was really, I read the script. It had a lot of locations like Brazil and then North Africa. And I really depend upon the director to tell me the story because Spencer, you know that you can have exactly the same words of every script, but if you give it to Steven Spielberg, it's going to be one movie. If you give it to Wes Anderson or Tim Burton, it'll be another movie, right? So he told me the story, and then we watched movies together. And we watched, as you said, is it The Secret of the Incas? I never get it right.
The Secret of the Incas.
And we watched Greatest Show on Earth. And, I kept seeing the leather jacket with the brown fedora on Charlton Heston. So he said, yeah, that's it. That's what I want. And he even drew me a picture of it. So, it was quite clear what he wanted. And the original question before I went off was about the relationship. So 1941 was a failure, and Stephen's first failure. And it was a big failure. In fact, he didn't even come to the premiere.
Wow.
John and I took his mother and his sister, Steve's mother and his sister, to the premiere.
Wow.
He knew it was he went to Japan with Amy Irving. He knew it was going to be what it was. And it was very traumatic for him. So going into Raiders, he didn't want to spend money. He was incredibly cautious. He handed over the reins of the production to Howard Kazanjian, a producer, and to George. And we went about making the movie.
Wow. So a lot went into the beginning of this film.
Huge.
And obviously we have to talk about, though, Harrison Ford, who at this point is having I would call it the Harrison Ford Renaissance. I mean, we just saw Star Wars, which is obviously huge. Blade Runner is right around the corner, which is, one of my all-time favorite costume films also. What can you tell me about working with Harrison Ford and how he may or may not have been involved in the process of finding Indiana Jones?
Well, I don't know if he was in the process of finding. I think he was just happy to be working.
Right.
He was happy to have gotten the call that Tom Selleck had to go back to Hawaii to do the Magnum series. And he just showed up. Han Solo shuffled in, I've told the story many times. We were so profoundly disappointed. And that's no lie. And I mean, have you met Harrison? He's quite a quiet, reticent guy. and quite grumpy, can be very, very grumpy.
He's
And
quite famously also like, I trust a designer though. Tell me what you want me to wear and I'll wear it, and it's about what's on the page and more so what he thinks and what you think.
yeah, he's a wonderful man. I mean, I loved him. And it's too bad that both of us were involved. I'm, yeah, I loved him, and he trusted me. And remember, he was the oldest person on the set. He
Mm,
was 39.
wow.
He had had a big life, and he was already going into his second marriage, right?
Yeah.
So he had had a big life. He had been on television. He was a working carpenter, which is how he got into acting to begin with. And he was just a lovely guy. But the costume, Spencer, may I say that if you were available after Tom Selleck fell out, I would have put the hat and the jacket on you, Spencer, because whoever was going to be, or my husband, whoever was going to be Indiana Jones was going to be wearing a brown leather jacket, khaki pants, Red Wing boots, and a brown fedora.
Yeah.
Whoever it was, whoever walked in. So it just happened to be Han Solo who walked in. And
Right. That was not changing regardless. Well, then let's talk about the brown leather jacket and the khakis. And we'll talk about the hat separately in a second because that deserves its own moment. One thing that I love so much about Raiders of Lost Ark, and I say this, I feel like in every podcast, my favorite part is always the aging and the dyeing and the breakdown of these costumes. Raiders of the Lost Ark really is, to me, like one of the first movies where you just, like, you see him appear in that jacket and you're like, oh, he's been wearing that thing for 20 years and he wears it on all of his digs. I mean, tell me about aging that jacket.
I mean, I've told these stories for so long. I hope it's not too dull. But first of all,
Never.
I made the jacket. I made a complete set at Western Costume Company here in Hollywood for.
Uh-huh.
In fact, some of your listeners may know, but Ruben actually made the leather jacket. I made a complete set for Tom Selleck, who is more than 6'5". He might be even 6'X", right? And he is huge. He looks like, Jack Reacher, that guy. And Harrison's only 6'2" and was kind of a slimmer build. And so I didn't have time to remake any of that by the time I got to London. And the jacket was really custom made for Harrison. And
Hmm.
my thoughts were the biggest issue was really having it be able to be zipped and be tight on the hip. And where my design is really different from Anthony Powell's, who was my very close friend and designed the subsequent two films,
Right.
was I had a brass D-ring. So I had brass zipper and brass D-rings at the hip. And the whole idea about that jacket was that he could use the whip and have the jacket half zipped, which is
Mm.
quite a trip, a trick, quite a trick, because so it has a very, very deep, it has a very, very deep inset in the back, so he could move his shoulder. Well, we only went to London to EMI Elstree where we shot 6 weeks before shooting.
Wow.
6 weeks. And again, costume designers listening, many of them only have 6 weeks to prepare any film. And that's part of our challenge is not having enough time, of course, and not having enough money. And why is that? Because what we do is misunderstood and not acknowledged, right?
Hmm.
Otherwise, we'd have more of everything.
Right.
So Harrison and I got there together,
Mm.
and I didn't have a jacket for him. And so I only had one jacket and one hat ready for the
Wow.
first day of shooting.
Just got chills.
One jacket, and it came in my luggage.
Gosh.
And we flew to La Rochelle. We flew to Nantes and then went to La Rochelle, which is where the submarine bays are. The Nazi U-boat submarine bays. We used the real location,
Wow.
which was very frightening also.
Mhm.
I mean, I remember There were big red Nazi flags.
Wow.
And Stephen and I were alone down there. And I said to him, as Jews, I said, well, I guess we have the last laugh. Right. I guess this is the last laugh. And remember, it was 1980.
Hmm.
So it was quite a long time ago. And but it was scary. And we did have chills. And it was very scary. I mean, it was the first time that Stephen had ever even dipped into that area, right? Um, and so I brought a new jacket and a new hat and trousers and shoes. And his first change came with me in my own luggage.
Wow.
And the night before shooting, I had no time to start. And I've told this a million times, but it's absolutely the truth that Harrison and we had dinner with George and Howard Kazanjian and Steve, and we sat by the pool and I aged the jacket myself. And I used what I had. I brought mineral oil, I brought sandpaper, I brought a big steel brush, I brought lots of rags, and I did what I could for that first sequence.
Wow.
And you're absolutely right, Spencer. It was supposed to be his second skin.
Mm.
He was supposed to have had that jacket for so long that even though it was cowhide, it was quite stiff. I had to do what I could to soften it and to make it look like he had worn it all his life. And also giving it to Harrison, that really is performance.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like you all knew too. There's so many moments where you see his shadow appear on a wall or whatever, and you just see that iconic silhouette. It's like you all knew. I just kept thinking about that while rewatching it. But let's talk about the hat. I mean, we have to talk about the hat. I always say I feel like it's the most famous hat in film history. I can't, maybe like Wizard of Oz, like being like number two. Yes, exactly. So how did you settle on this hat for Indiana Jones? Was it as difficult as you would think it would be, trying to find the most iconic hat in the world?
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. It was absolutely true. And it's funny because I have had conversations with other designers afterward, because sometimes I just have to check myself that I'm not crazy or I am not inventing the wheel, that this is how it was done. So absolutely the truth. Harrison and I were sitting in a fitting room at Berman's and Nathan's in Camden Town in London. And just like at Western Costume or any costume house, there are bins and bins, baskets and boxes of fedoras.
Mm.
And I took them down. We emptied them out. So he was kind of ankle deep, knee deep in fedoras. And you just sit and try them on. And you try them on. And men and everyone, women too, nobody can ever find a hat they look good in.
That's true.
And any man can never find the right baseball cap. And when you find the right baseball cap, because the bill is too hard, the bill is too soft, the crown is too high, it's too polyester, when you find the one, it's on your head all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we were just doing this. And then we kind of found, I had to find the right crown, the right height crown, the right width of this hat was going to be on his head the entire film.
Yeah.
No pressure.
And had to be flawless.
That's my job. It is my job. It is not the performer's job. It is my job. And even though it doesn't look like my job, it's totally my job. So I had to find the right width brim so the cinematographer wouldn't kill me. Was it going to sit on the back of his head? So the proportions had to be exactly right. And it had to feel right. And I happened to be on Savile Row. And it's fun to hear. I know I'm saying this, but it actually happened to me So I'm not talking about somebody else. I'm actually the mother. So I'm talking about the birth of my child, sort of. I hope that's not too extreme, and
No.
also that it doesn't offend my children. So I'm walking down Savile Row, and that's where I had Harrison's bow ties made, right? I had his bow ties made on Savile Row. And there was a wonderful shop, a hat shop, and I walked in. Did they have a hat that was right? No. Did they have fedoras? Spencer, why would anybody be carrying fedoras in 1980?
Yeah, that's
Who
true.
was wearing fedoras in 1980?
Yeah.
Like nobody was wearing fedoras. So I went in and they had a hat that was called the Australian model. And of course, so it had the kind of a right brim, and then one side was Crocodile Dundee, right? And I said, I think I could work with this because I can cut the brim to whatever length. And I brought it back, tried it on Harrison, fit it, and it became the hat.
Wow.
And I wish I had a nickel for every hat that was made.
Right. I mean, that really is the curse of what you all do too. But years later, we're still talking about it. It is iconic, that silhouette. Professor Landis, I have to let you go so you could go on to your next appointment because you're working on something else very exciting. But I just have to say thank you so much for your time. There's no way we could have talked about Raiders of the Lost Ark without talking to you. I hope everyone checks out your website. Thank you so much, Professor Deborah Nadoolman Landis, for talking with us. This has been such a joy. And I can't wait to, hopefully, I'm going to send you more questions so we can just chat after the fact.
Spencer, you can always call me again. And if you ever want to talk about any of my other movies from the 80s,
Please.
I can say I was big in the 80s, right?
I've been dying to talk about Coming to America. It's actually on our list. So
Come on, let's do it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us.
All right. Bye, Spencer.
Spencer, that was so much fun.
It was so much fun. I'm sad that we were running a long time because I feel like I still had a gazillion more questions, but I think we got all the hits in. We got to talk about Indiana Jones.
You did.
And Steven Spielberg, and that's what we all care about.
And I loved hearing about her collaboration with Steven Spielberg, because I wonder sometimes, like, okay, like how do directors, choose who they work with? Mm-hmm. And to think that he didn't have a costume designer before 1941. Mm-hmm. Like it's so crazy to me, but it's like that was still pretty early in filmmaking.
Yeah, and it's something, because it's no secret, I've pitched to Elizabeth doing a Jaws episode for several years on this podcast.
You have.
But that was another Spielberg film where there was no costume designer. So it's kind of been like, well, how do we do that one?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was kind of interesting to hear her talk about that because that kind of like filled in the blanks for me, actually. So that was very exciting. I also had forgot that Harrison Ford was not supposed to be the original Indiana Jones, Tom Selleck.
That was new information to me.
Yeah.
I had no idea, and quite frankly, I don't think this would be the movie it is without Harrison Ford.
Well, I think it really worked out the way it's supposed to. Yeah, I mean, I guess we've just always known Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones, but yeah, would have been a totally different movie.
Totally
I do
different.
like Tom Selleck though, so I'm sure he could have killed it, but I mean,
yeah,
Harrison
it would have been
Ford,
different.
He's so dreamy at this point in time.
Yeah.
Like she even said, Han Solo walked in for a fitting, so of course everyone was like, well, that's the guy. And then right after he's Deckard in Blade Runner, so the Han Solo Renaissance, as I said, or Harrison Ford Renaissance.
Yes, I feel like he's in another Renaissance right now.
He is.
Everywhere I look, he's in something.
Yeah, he's unstoppable, and we just love Harrison Ford for it. So since I didn't get to ask all of my questions, I figured maybe you and I could talk about a couple of costumes real quick. And one of my favorites that I didn't get to ask Professor Landis about was actually when Indiana Jones is in his professor state at the college.
I love it.
to me, I was gonna ask her like if it was intentional. I was getting a lot of like Clark Kent vibes from Professor Indy, because like we go from this like very dusty kind of, temple and his very obviously iconic silhouette, and then we see him in his college and he's all dressed up with the with the ties and the glasses, and to me I was like, this is Superman, this is Clark Kent trying to blend into regular society. I thought it was so funny.
I totally get what you're saying. I see it. I do think, because this is like the late 30s, because it seems like World War II has not quite broken out yet.
No.
And so he would have absolutely been required to wear a three-piece suit to work.
Yeah.
I think it's so silly when I see him in the bow tie. I love it. I love him in the bow tie.
Yeah,
but
he
it's
looks good.
That's definitely like the one there. That's where I see the Clark Kent of it all, with his little professor bow tie.
And it reminded me of the new Superman film, which you and I went and saw recently.
So
that
good.
Judianna Makovsky did. And there's a moment where like the newsroom guys are around Clark Kent, like all the women are like fawning over him as well too, and that same moment was happening for Indy as a professor. So I was like just seeing a lot of parallels.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say though, especially when he's talking to like all the people about the Ark of the Covenant, I love that suit and that tie in particular, because it takes him to like that serious academic.
Yeah.
Whereas in the classroom, I feel like he's trying to be a little more approachable.
A little more approachable. That's why all the college girls are just absolutely dying over him, because he does have like a warmth about him, which is interesting, by the way, because as Professor Landis mentioned, he is a little bit of a grumpy guy, Harrison Ford. So I thought, and it's, that's like known knowledge.
Oh, yeah. I think if you watch any interview with him,
Yeah. So seeing like that light him with the red bow tie, and like you said, he looks approachable. It is very interesting.
I think it's just such a testament to him as an actor, because Indiana Jones is a person who loves what he does. He loves history. He loves chasing history. And I think those sort of people, when they have the opportunity to teach others, even if like on a regular day they would seem like someone who's not approachable, they lighten up. They're excited to tell you what they know. So I feel like that's him being Indiana Jones and being like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to tell these young people about my work.
Yeah. Hey, I get it. I mean, that's me whenever I talk about costume design, and I'm sure Professor Landis would feel the same way. Like, start talking to me about what you're passionate about, and I'll light up too, like that. I also was gonna mention as well to her that I just love how this film has such like a timeless quality to it. Like you said, it is it's based in the 1930s, right in the coming up of World War II, but I don't know. I just feel like there's such a timeless quality. Do you feel that way as well too?
Yes.
Like, it doesn't feel dated watching it at this point either.
No. And I think that is, a testament to her work, because a couple weeks before we decided we were going to do this for the podcast, I watched this. I remember I texted you and I was like, I want Marion's wardrobe.
Yeah.
Because especially that first scene, I was like, I would wear that out and about. Like,
actually, yeah, I see that. And I actually see the red pants and the white blouse on you as well, too.
Like, please give me those trousers. Like, please give me a good high-waisted trouser. Please. Yeah. I would love that.
Yeah, Marion was absolutely so sweet. I loved all of her costumes. Even like the kind of creepy one that the, villains gave her.
Yes,
It was,
the all white one.
yeah, it was a cute dress though.
It was.
I loved I was like, all right,
like,
a little bit of taste there. I get it.
She looks so good all throughout it. And I feel like she's not playing into the stereotypes of the time. As she was saying, it's about character. And I think it's timeless because she gave so much attention to the individual characters and betraying who they are. And I think that's why, although it's a period piece, the film itself feels timeless.
Yeah, and actually, to that point, I actually wanted to read you an email that Professor Landis sent me after the podcast.
Okay.
And I thought, I just really love what she said to me. She was kind of like bringing back up that question I asked her at the beginning, what makes costume design and designers integral to film success? And she sent me another message after, and she said, once costume design is separated from clothing and style, its value rises. When a goal is in creation of personality, authentic people who have had complicated lives before we meet them on screen, that's virtuistic filmmaking. That's when we care. Then there are characters who are interchangeable, disposable, and one-dimensional dress dolls. Pretty, but vacant and flat, like the mannequins who walked a runway, placeholders for people. It was such a pleasure. Let's do it again. Which I loved because I just, like you said, she just sees it's not about clothes, it's about storytelling and figuring out who these people are. And I just think Marion is such a good example of that when you see her in that first shot, drinking all these men under the table, and you see like the sweat on her, and she's kind of unkept, and everything's kind of like a little disheveled. And you just see that this is like a hard, tough person who's gone through a lot in their lives, but has been doing whatever she can, to stay ahead of the world where she's at, or just barely above the level of like survival. And I just think that Marion's such a good testament to that. So
absolutely.
Still teaching, and she's not even on a podcast with us.
I know.
And with that, I think we should play our favorite games. Are you ready?
Ooh, yes.
All right. What are you thinking about giving this film a Stitch rating, 1 to 5? I could go first.
You go first.
I was thinking like a solid 4.
Me too.
Because Me too. Like, to me, it is like a perfect movie. I don't know. But then maybe like the end feels like a little bit long. But I don't know. Like but like you said, I don't know that there's anything I would change about it. So maybe like a 4.5. Like, it's so close. I don't know what it is, but it's such a great movie.
Yeah.
All the lines are even like, the script is good. I feel like I'm convincing myself it's a 5 at this point, because like I'm thinking about like the art direction in a way, like the light hits Indy when he's like in the temple at the beginning.
Yes.
The silhouettes
when they're uncovering like the spot where he has to put the staff in, and he takes off the stuff and he puts the hat on and he's silhouetted.
Oh gosh, yeah, it's so good. You know what? I'm changing it. It's a 5 for me.
I think it's a 5 for me too, and it's just such a classic.
Yeah,
it's such
really
a classic.
Is. Like you said, this is like the ultimate popcorn film. Like, you can't really. There's nothing better than sitting down and watching Indiana Jones. So all right. Well, that was easier than I thought it would be. But maybe not so easy. Elizabeth, are you ready to play one costume to rule them all?
I am. The one costume to rule them all.
All right. So I have a feeling we're probably aligned on this, but I don't know. My one costume to rule them all just has to be the iconic Indiana Jones costume we see at the beginning. I mean, to me, it's just one of the most iconic costumes of all time. And, we usually say that about a lot of like women's costumes. I feel like we haven't said that about a lot of men's costumes. So I would like to enter this into the Art of Costume Podcast Museum of iconic one costume to rule them all costumes. Is Indiana Jones's temple look at the beginning.
I like it. Yeah.
I feel like you had something else in mind, though.
Oh yeah, it's not my one costume to rule them all.
Oh,
but
okay.
It might. Now that you say that, I'm like, it might just be the most iconic men's costume of all time. like sitting back and like trying to think about what else has made that big of an impact. I don't know, like maybe Edward's gray coat, but
yeah. That's wild, but yeah.
I know, like, and I say that in all honesty, like, and that is wild because much love to Twilight.
I was thinking like maybe the Godfather's suit, maybe. She went straight to Twilight.
I did.
That's fair though. I respect your opinion.
But I digress. My one costume to rule them all is Marion's white dress that she's forced to put on by the creeps.
Wow.
The creepy Nazis. And I love it because she's forced into this and she's like, okay, whatever, but uses it to her advantage. And as we go through the rest of the film, I love how they distressed it and destroyed it. And it just like, it slowly like falls away.
Yeah.
And just because like, it looks terrible by the end of it.
It becomes a rag toward the end of its journey.
Yeah. But I think I love that they took this like gorgeous dress and just absolutely destroyed it.
Yeah, it was really fun. Yeah, that's a good one, Elizabeth. I appreciate that. And which is why I told her, by the way, I was like, the aging and dying in this film is incredible. And the fact that she aged that, Indy jacket.
It sounds like she aged it by the pool with just like Harrison Ford.
Yeah, just the day
Steven
before.
Spielberg just like chilling.
Which is wild.
So wild.
So wild. And that brings us to the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark and the end of our 80s adventure series, which is only 2 episodes long, Labyrinth and Raiders of the Lost Ark. But I have to say, it was a lot of fun. So I think we should revisit this maybe in another season. I like these 80s adventure classics. So, but the 80s fun doesn't exactly end right there, though, because it's time for us to reveal
our spooky season.
Costume nerds, this spooky season, our theme
is vampires.
Starting with our next episode, The Lost Boys.
Yes, I am so excited. I love this stinking movie so much. It is campy and stupid and over the top, and I love it. And it's vampires. We should actually say that our vampire month, it's not just vampires, it's almost like hot vampire month.
Honestly, yeah. Should we reveal our lineup, Spencer?
Yeah, I totally think we should be revealing our lineup. Let's just do it. Well, as we do every season, we always, for spooky season, we do an episode every week. So be prepared to hear from us every week in October, which I'm very excited about. So we will be doing The Lost Boys, followed by Interview with the Vampire, the TV series, which I'm very excited to finally get into. Like I said, hot vampires only. We are not doing Twilight, though, so don't ask. We've already done, 4 or 5 Twilight episodes at this point.
We've actually only done one, but
followed by Interview with the Vampire, we'll be talking about Only Lovers Left Alive, a movie I've not seen yet, but has a lot of our favorites from Crimson Peak in it. So I'm very excited about that. Following that film, then, we're going to be talking about a TV series that had the world in a chokehold for sounds like a very long time. I have not seen, but Elizabeth has. It is called True Blood.
Yes.
So I am very excited for that. I need to get started on watching that show. Sounds like there's a couple episodes. So
a couple.
Yeah.
Quite a few.
Thank you all for listening. Don't forget to email us at theartofcostume@gmail.com. Let us know what you're excited about in our spooky season. Send us your questions for any of the episodes we just talked about. We'd be happy to dive into them. As always, follow us on Instagram at The Art of Costume Pod or TikTok at The Art of Costume. Our pod store is still open, theartofcostume.com/podstore. And as always, leave us a 5-star text review on Apple Podcasts or rate us on Spotify. And last thing, if you are not yet subscribed to us on YouTube, please do so. You get to watch all of our fun interviews over YouTube and see our beautiful shining faces, which is so much fun. So with that, costume nerds, we'll see you all in our spooky season.
See you soon.